This episode is brought to you by Amazon. The holidays are here, and you know what that means? It's time to get your friends and family the gifts they deserve. Take the stress out of shopping with Amazon's great deals and low prices on a huge range of items from toys to tech and much more. Whoever you're gifting for, Amazon has great prices on everything you need this holiday season. Shop Amazon for all your gifting needs.
It's an Open Line Friday. Welcome. It's Eric Erickson here across the United States of America. I am delighted to have you guys with me today. The phone number, 877-973-7425. If you want to be on the program, as always, text Eric, E-R-I-C-K, to the number 33777. I'll get you the live stream, the show notes, the podcast, all that good stuff. Delighted to have you with me today. Of course, we have to begin with last night. We'll get to the Trump stuff. We will get to the Trump stuff on abortion. We got to start with Kamala Harris on CNN. I've got a lot of audio from the interview that I want to play you. And I want to start out with what is J.D. Vance put out as the epitome of Kamala Harris's answer to everything last night. A lot of conservatives are dragging Dana Bash of CNN, not Dana Lash, the radio show host, Dana Bash of CNN. I know both of them. They're both friends. And Dana Bash actually offered a master class in how you allow someone to expose themselves as a fool. You need to understand that the interview, it was only about 20 minutes of answers from Kamala Harris. And in that time, we learned that she is a vapid dimwit, as I have been telling you she was. There are a lot of people attacking Dana Bash for not asking substantive follow-ups to a lot of the things that Kamala Harris said. I don't think she needed to. The answers were bad enough. And the probative depth of a follow-up would have deprived us of the breadth of Kamala Harris's stupidity. It was actually, I thought, a good thing. Listen, there's no way to win this. If you're a reporter intending to ask substantive questions, notice, by the way, today, all the chatter about an edited interview are gone because Kamala Harris exposed herself. All of you who are paranoid about them editing it to make her look favorable, I told you couldn't put lipstick on a pig and call it beautiful. Kamala Harris did not come across well last night. But I don't want to start there, except this is the quality of the answer Kamala Harris gave.
Okay. Recent polls have shown a fifth of Americans can't locate the U.S. on a world map. Why do you think this is?
I personally believe that U.S. Americans are unable to do so because some people out there in our nation don't have maps, and I believe that our education, such as in South Africa and the Iraq, everywhere such as, and I believe that they should, our education over here in the U.S. should help the U.S. or should help South Africa and should help the Iraq and the Asian countries.
That was Miss South Carolina in the Miss America contest some years ago. The U.S. Americans don't have maps such as South Africa. That was the level of substance we got from Kamala Harris. There was no use asking her an in-depth follow-up question when that was the level of substance she was getting. I don't want to start there, though. We'll get there. But everything you need to know about the problems with Kamala Harris's interview are the staging. Did you see it at all? Now, I didn't watch it live. I was actually on the road last night. I had a dinner last night, was on the road, came back into town, and had to go back and watch it. And I was stunned. And then I saw all the commentary afterwards. I was driving. I promise I wasn't looking at Twitter while I was driving. So I came home, watched the interview, and then saw the social media commentary, how poorly staged it was. They were, I think, in Savannah, Georgia. I don't know where they were. They looked like they were at a waiting room at a train station or something. Some like a cafeteria diner at a train station. It was poorly lit. It was poorly staged. They were poorly positioned. The furniture was so dark it absorbed too much of the light to deprive them of some reflective glow of the TV lighting. It was not a good optic for Kamala Harris. And by the way, just so you know, the campaign could have provided facilities and all of that for CNN. This is not CNN's fault. Y'all, I worked at CNN. I worked at Fox News. I've done campaign interviews. Let me tell you about my very first campaign big thing was Rick Perry in 2011 came to my conference to announce he was running for president of the United States. They took over the staging. They used coat hangers. By the way, I never knew how this was done. You know how when you see the flags behind candidates on a stage and they're just perfectly spread out with this triangle and they've got a perfect width? They use coat hangers. And they stick a coat hanger behind inside the flag to make sure the flags are spread out perfectly. It's what they do. They staged everything. They wanted to make sure the lighting was right. They had camera positions the way they wanted cameras. They had microphones the way they wanted microphones. They did all that. Now, they can't do as much of that with a network, but they can still do a lot of that with a network. They can offer a room. They can offer good staging. They could offer good optics. There were plenty of places in Savannah, Georgia, they could have done an interview like this, including outside on a rooftop overlooking the Savannah River. They could have done that. They could have done it at the Westin that is on the Hutchinson Island there, looking out through a window so you see the river in the background. There were plenty of places they could have offered to do it, a venue that they could have done it in to make the staging perfect for CNN, and they dropped the ball on that. Her advanced team dropped the ball on that. That's not good. It's like when J.D. Vance went to Valdosta, Georgia, and the poor woman at the bakery where he ordered the donuts was so upset and didn't want to be on camera and wasn't engaged. The advanced team is supposed to weed that stuff out. And it's a failure of the advanced team to not weed that stuff out. Then there was, of course, the oddity of her and Tim Walz together. And neither of them had a good moment. It was not a good look. In fact, one of the answers that I think everybody needs to focus on is Tim Walz being asked about his military record.
Governor Walz, the country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war, yeah. Did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is
wait. Grammar. I carried these weapons, the weapons of war in combat. A prepositional phrase, apparently. Joe Biden is at war with the English language. Kamala Harris is at war with the English language, and now Tim Walz is as well. This man was a public school teacher. Well, that explains everything, doesn't it? A public school teacher at war with the English language. His grammar. It wasn't his grammar. It was his truth. Truth is not grammar. Grammar is a part of truth. His wife says it's his grammar. Listen, Dana Bash did not need to go back and say, wait a second, grammar, can you diagram the sentence for me and show me where the lie is? She didn't have to do that. He did it himself, and it's for us to point out the fact that he lied, and he says, actually, my grammar was bad. This public school teacher, his grammar was bad. Where is the prepositional phrase that was bad? And Tim Walz, please explain to us in the sentence diagram why that prepositional phrase was bad. Well, it was bad because it was a lie. That's for you and me to note. Dana Bash didn't have to do that. That's his excuse, though. That's his excuse. And then, of course, there is Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, and I got plenty of audio to wade through with you. But Kamala Harris is asked about her day one priorities. Never mind, she's been there 3.5 years. Her day one priorities. It's important that you listen to this answer.
We have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation, and I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda, too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be. And I think many of these things that the vice president's proposing are things that we share in values in the child tax.
So on day one is to inspire. That was a terrible answer. I need to give you some history here. In 1980, Teddy Kennedy, the younger brother of John and Robert, decided to challenge Jimmy Carter in the Democratic primary for president of the United States. And though he lost, he exposed Carter's weaknesses and helped cause Carter to lose. But Ted Kennedy lost the election when a reporter asked him what became a fatal question, and one for which every candidate has subsequently had to have an answer for. And that is, why are you running for president? Believe it or not, Ted Kennedy couldn't answer the question. It's like no one asked him that, why are you running, Ted? He had no way to know, and that sunk his candidacy. He was giving Carter a run for his money, raising money, tapping into real angst within the Democratic Party, and he lost. He lost because he couldn't answer the question. Why are you running for president of the United States? Kamala Harris was just asked what she wanted to do on day one, and she talks about an opportunity economy. Do people not have opportunity right now? She's been there for 3.5 years. She had no substantive answer. And when Tim Walz is asked to chime in, he's like, the feels. I support her in the feels. That's a horrible, horrible answer. There was so much in this interview for Donald Trump to capitalize on. I've got plenty of audio to go through. If you missed it, there's plenty of things that she said that were just baffling. There was no need for deep follow-ups from Dana Bash. She needed to have a broad conversation in a limited amount of time. Kamala Harris spoke for maybe 20 minutes. And in those 20 minutes, we saw that this is a woman incapable of a deep thought. She has platitudes. And she can't even tell you what she really wants to do when she becomes president. She's too scared to tell you the truth. The truth eludes Tim Walz. And Dana Bash did, just by asking simple questions, exposed the shallowness and vanity of a Democratic campaign that really isn't ready for prime time and gave Trump so much to capitalize on. We have a 3-day weekend ahead of us, ladies and gentlemen. I am personally delighted. I've been needing a break. Been on doing a lot of travel and have just an insane schedule up through the election. With the start of college football season, I want y'all to know what I've done. I got a projector and an outdoor screen. The temperatures are about to drop in the South. I mean, it's going to be in the 70s for highs later this coming week. And I intend to sit in my hot tub, thank you, Georgia Spa Company, and project football games and baseball games onto an outdoor projector and turn off the lights in the backyard and just watch college football and professional football and baseball games. It's going to be by myself. There's no one invited over. There will be no other people in my hot tub. It will be therapy just for me. I just, and so it's not an ad. I do ads for Georgia Spa Company. In fact, they're doing a Labor Day sale right now. But this is not an ad. This is just me telling you, I'm going to be sitting in my hot tub. I'm going to have a glass of bourbon, and I'm going to have a cigar, and I'm going to have football on a 200-inch screen in my backyard by myself with no one else around, and it's going to be glorious. And then on Thursday, I'm going to Barnsley Gardens by myself. I'm going to get a cabin, and I'm going to hit golf balls and smoke cigars and have a glass of bourbon or two and have no one to bother me, no one to talk politics with me. I'm just going to completely unwind, because then it's going to be a grind from end of next week until the week after the election. I've already got a post-election vacation planned because it's going to be exhausting. I've got to be the week of the election. I got the election, be in Atlanta. Then I'm going to Tulsa to my KRMG affiliate the next day. And then I'm coming home that Friday, do my show at WSB, my flagship station. Then I got to go to Jacksonville, Florida to be with my affiliate in Jacksonville, Florida for an event. And then I got to be back at work on Monday. And so on Thursday afternoon, after the week after the election, I am already got myself a ticket to Las Vegas. I'm going to go shoot machine guns in the desert where there is no cell phone service. No one will be able to get me on the phone, not my wife, not my children. I pray that they'll be fine with me gone, but I am going to, I got to go after these next 2 months. I'm on an airplane every week for the next 2 months. May God have mercy on my soul. So this weekend, it's my hot tub and football. Now, we got to move on. I want to talk about Americans for Prosperity. So there have been two groups that have now left door hanging material at my home. One is America PAC, which is the Elon Musk PAC, and the other one is Americans for Prosperity. One was just simply a get out the vote for a campaign. Americans for Prosperity was about issues. Did you know what issues are at stake? Educating me, informing me, trying to motivate me to get involved. You can work with Americans for Prosperity. You go to americansforprosperity.org. They have chapters in every state. They're not just out there trying to motivate people to be involved in the process. They're trying to educate you and teach you persuasion skills, give you the information to persuade other people that common sense conservatism is the right path for this country. All you have to do to be involved with them is go to americansforprosperity.org. americansforprosperity.org. You go sign up with Americans for Prosperity. You get involved with them. And they, my friends, can teach you how to be a great activist, the most informed person in the circle of your friends, and highly effective at advancing common sense conservatism. americansforprosperity.org. Go check them out today. Greetings, conversationalists. This Open Line Friday. The phone number is 877-973-7425. Delighted to have you with me. If you text ARMY to 33777 and fill out that form, please, just your name, zip code, email address. We are going to start in Tulsa, Oklahoma with an election debriefing on November 7th. We would love to be able to keep in touch with you and let you know when we're in your area. You got to text the word ARMY to 33777. You'll get a link. Click the link, and you'll see, put in your first name, last name, zip code, email address, and click submit. And as we head around the country, I can say, okay, who's in Oklahoma? And pull up the list and send you an email and say, here's where we are, send you the landing page so you can RSVP and come. So please do that. Text ARMY to 33777. Now, you'll note, I did not get into the deep substance of Kamala Harris's interview with CNN, in large part because there is none. It continues to be remarkable that Dana Bash attempted multiple ways to get Kamala Harris to say what she would do on her first day in office and couldn't get anything out of it other than vibes. We're going to change the feels in this country. That's it. In fact, let me just start with what the Trump campaign did, because she made a fundamental. Actually, I shouldn't. I should start here. This is Dana Bash pushing Kamala Harris on her major reversal on fracking.
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually increased leases for fracking as vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy or scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get it now?
What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
So remember, she said her values haven't changed. The Trump campaign, that came out in a clip, a promotional clip CNN started circulating before the interview, saying that her values hadn't changed. And the Trump campaign pushed this out before the CNN interview even began.
Is my values have not changed. There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. You know, we have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke.
The people who are convicted in prison, like the Boston Marathon bomber, on death row, people who are convicted of sexual assault, they should be able to vote?
I think we should have that conversation.
What would you do about the millions of, specifically, assault weapons that are already in circulation? What do you do about those?
Well, there are approximately 5 million, to your point, Craig. We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program. It is outdated, it is wrong-headed thinking to think that the only way you're going to get communities to be safe is to put more police officers on the street.
It also says, quote, every individual who is a resident of the United States is entitled to benefits for health care services under this act. Not every individual who's a citizen, but every individual who's a resident. So you support giving universal health care, Medicare for all, to people who are in this country illegally?
Let me just be very clear about this. I am opposed to any policy that would deny in our country any human being from access to public safety, public education, or public health, period.
To reiterate, you support the Medicare for All bill, I think initially co-sponsored by Senator Bernie Sanders. You're also a co-sponsor on it. I believe it will totally eliminate private insurance. So for people out there who like their insurance, they don't get to keep it.
Let's eliminate all of that. Let's move on. How dare we speak Merry Christmas? How dare we? And yeah, I am Rob. Is my values have not changed.
It's true. Her values haven't changed. I'm sorry, that terrible background. I just didn't like the background music. Couldn't strip it out, but it was worth playing. The Trump campaign got that out pretty quickly after the promotional clip from CNN came out where she was saying her values haven't changed. It's just kind of remarkable that the interview, she was as shallow as she was. Michael Singleton was on CNN about this fracking issue where she's trying to claim that she can support the Green New Deal and fracking at the same time.
Sense in parts of America that there's a cultural antagonism against people who live in places where fracking is an issue that matters. So yes, it's about, whether or not, she cares about people like you, but I think this is a proxy for that.
I mean, it's thousands of jobs for people who live in Pennsylvania. And when you say that you support the Green New Deal, but you also support fracking, those two ideals are not consistent. The end result of supporting the Green New Deal is to end fossil fuels. You can't say I support this, but also, by the way, you can have your fracking too. And so for people in Pennsylvania, those skeptical folks that are in the middle, that 5% that may determine which way that state goes, they're going to look at that and they're going to say, well, is this political pandering? Is this political expediency? Is the vice president saying whatever she needs to say to potentially win, but she doesn't believe it? And we weren't clear. She did not give a clear or decisive answer in that regard.
She did not give a clear and decisive answer. By the way, you should know, Pennsylvania is 19 electoral college votes. And the Harris campaign and the Democratic National Committee are increasingly worried that they may lose it. See, early voting in Pennsylvania starts in about 3 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And they're worried. The polling in Pennsylvania among the Democratic internal polling, the ones that aren't public, aren't good. Jake Tapper on CNN has mentioned this. Nate Silver has mentioned this. Nate Cohen at the New York Times has mentioned this. There is a whisper campaign growing among Democrats that maybe she should have picked Josh Shapiro because her polling in Pennsylvania isn't good. And that causes her to have a more narrow path to victory and broadens the path to victory for Donald Trump. If that actually is the case, there's time to change it on both sides, to increase her odds, to decrease his odds, to even increase his odds. Fracking is an issue that is hurting Kamala Harris there. And it's not just that, of course. It's all the other issues on which she's so progressive.
Well, would you withhold some U.S. weapons shipments to Israel? That's what a lot of people on the progressive left want you to do.
Let me be very clear. I am unequivocal and unwavering in my commitment to Israel's defense and its ability to defend itself. And that's not going to change. But let's take a step back. October 7, 1,200 people were massacred. Many young people who were simply attending a music festival. Women were horribly raped. As I said then, I say today, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. And we have got to get a deal done. We were in Doha. We have to get a deal done. This war must end.
In the meantime,
and we must get a deal that is about getting the hostages out. I've met with the families of the American hostages. Let's get the hostages out. Let's get the ceasefire done.
But no change in policy in terms of arms and so forth.
No, we have to get a deal done. Dana, we have to get a deal done. When you look at the significance of this to the families, to the people who are living in that region, a deal is not only the right thing to do to end this war, but will unlock so much of what must happen next. I remain committed since I've been on October 8 to what we must do to work toward a two-state solution where Israel is secure and in equal measure the Palestinians have security and self-determination and dignity.
I told y'all she would conduct an orchestra. She's there, dun, 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 dun. I think we need some sort of peace deal, and I think I'll conjure one. I don't know what it will look like, but I'm sure you'll blame the Jews. I mean, that's Kamala Harris live on CNN, except pre-recorded. They didn't edit it, you can tell, because she would have given a better answer. This is what we're dealing with. And then this.
Another question about something that you said in 2019 when you first ran. There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
You recognize the problem, and you've been the supposed border czar, and you haven't done anything for 3.5 years. I didn't get this clip in there, essentially, but Dana Bash did ask a more provocative question on why did it take you 3.5 years to even think about securing the border? And she just had another word salad. It just a word salad. It was not a good answer. Well, and actually, maybe I did get the clip.
Just one other question about something that you said in 2019 when you first ran. there was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
But you've done nothing about it, and that's the problem. That's the problem. One more clip from the Kamala Harris interview.
Vice President Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal to the American people.
Sure. Those were not going to. Dana Bash did not have to probe deeply to see how shallow Kamala Harris was. For all of us to see. Today, the only people telling you that Kamala Harris had a good interview on CNN are the same people who, after Joe Biden's CNN debate, told you Joe Biden was just fine and was competent to be president of the United States. That's the only group of people telling you that last night's debate or last night's speech was a good speech, or her interview was a good interview. The people praising Harris are the people who praised Biden. That's all you need to know about how bad that interview was last night for her. Good for Dana Bash, and who, again, asked simple, straightforward questions without a lot of probing in-depth follow-up, and let Kamala Harris expose her shallowness, so much so that the best spin the Associated Press could do today to say, well, she was a kind of ordinary person. Yeah, nothing special about her. Now, Vision Computers is special. They'll build you a special machine just for you, one you want that works for your home or your office. They'll save you money in the process, and then you get their award-winning 5-star customer support where you can call them if you have a question, and they answer the phone in less than 15 seconds. They've been doing this for a very long time. They're great at it. VisionComputers.com or 404-COMPUTE. Give them a call, VisionComputers.com or 404-COMPUTE. If you do, you can also get their award-winning tech support for just $179 a year per computer for your home or office. If you don't have a computer, if you buy a computer from Vision, it comes with it. If you don't, for $179, Vision for a year, by the way, $179 for a year, Vision will take care of your tech support solutions. All you have to do is go to visioncomputers.com or call them at 404-COMPUTE. If you call them at 404-COMPUTE anywhere nationwide, call them at 404-COMPUTE. Tell them I sent you. You're going to get an even better deal. They can help your home. They can help your office. They can be your personal IT support. Just $179 a year if you didn't buy a computer from them. If you bought a computer from them, that's free. Great value, great company. VisionComputers.com. This hour of the program brought to you by First Liberty Building and Loan. Wherever they are, wherever you are, they are with you as a partner as you're buying buildings, building buildings, buying franchises for your business. If you need a heavy equipment loan for your business, reach out to them. FirstLibertyGA.com. First Liberty Building Loans have been doing this since the 90s. The Frost family knows how to make this happen. They make their own lending decisions. FirstLibertyGA.com. Tell them I sent you. Let's see here. I want to go to Paul first. Welcome to the show, Paul. How are you?
Hey, fine, thanks. Thanks for taking my call, Eric. Eric, I have to say, I think you do number one with campaign coverage. I love hearing your analysis. The 2 points I wanted to make concerning Kamala's interview yesterday, actually several of her, just whenever she speaks, she seems to use words out of context or big words incorrectly. The whole word, when she used deadline and then she used time in the same sentence, it just made no sense. And she does that over and over again. And then the other thing I wanted to say is she has an attitude. When she uses the words, "Let me be clear," this attitude is coming across. And when she spoke about the fracking, I will definitely get rid of fracking.
Yes.
You know, the attitude, and it's just very unbecoming. Can I just say it's annoying? The tenor, the tone, and the pacing, the way she tries to like bow up her face to give passion to polysyllabic words. She's not sure what they mean, but she heard somebody else use them. And then she gets her hands. When she gets defensive, her hands, she starts doing this kung fu orchestra in the air. And and you know, the annoying thing about that, Paul, too, is the number of, well, you're just sexist for pointing at you misogynist. I point this out about men. Apparently, all you people who want equal rights don't actually want equal rights. You want some superiority where I can say something about a man and you're fine with it, but you point out the same thing with the woman and you're a sexist. That's not equal rights. That's bullying. The fact of the matter is, this is a woman who is a walking word salad, and you heard plenty of those word salads, and there's still more. When we come back, I want to make y'all all mad, because we're going to move from Kamala Harris to what Donald Trump said yesterday, and then we'll get back to Harris, and I'll take your phone calls. Yes, it's an Open Line Friday, but there's so much to cover, you'll have to be patient with me. 877-973-7425. If Donald Trump loses in November, yesterday was the date that he lost the race. He needs to do some damage control to win this thing. I've got some advice for his campaign on what they need to do to salvage the moment and move forward, but he's got to do something. I'll explain when we come back.